Technique, toughness, and truth from a Michigan legend, captain and All-American. Hale Media Group presents Inside the O-Line Room with Rod Payne.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the O-Line Room with Rod Payne, where I dive deep into the inner workings of Michigan's offensive line from week to week, depending on what opponents we're playing. Let's dive right in. The film on deck here is Michigan State. You know, it was a pretty resounding victory. I think my overall synopsis or analysis of this game is increased consistency. We're still doing some things at the line of scrimmage that we need to work on, but I think they're starting to get it. And obviously, anytime you're going to be in a Michigan State rivalry, you know, that Michigan State game is going to be something that, regardless of the records, you know, it's going to be a hard-fought deal. And I think they fared. Michigan State played tough into the first quarter. They did some effective things, but I think overall our talent, our tenacity, our consistency has improved to where you'll see by the end of this review we kind of put this game to rest. But there are some highlights and some issues I think we still got to address to get week to week and get ready to beat that team down south. So let's just dive right in. All right, first play review is left guard. Let's see, you'll see notes up in the upper left corner that just keep my mind on things I reviewed earlier, but I may pick up a few things from here to here that you may see. Okay, so you got a front side double team between the center and left guard, which should really be blocking this down lineman up into the linebacker. And one of the things I'd like to see more from our double teams is a commitment to really get movement on the down lineman. Instead of kind of being in a situation where, you know, one guy tries to get off to the second linebacker, to the secondary guy. Okay, a combination blockers between these two guys. All right, and I'll back that up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Combination blockers between the center or guard, or the guard and tackle on either side, to double team a down lineman to a secondary player, which is usually linebackers. Okay, so in doing that, it often presents different situations or challenges where you see here the center comes off for the linebacker without really getting movement of this down lineman across the line of scrimmage. And the problem with that is you really leave the guy you're double teaming on an island where, at the very least, if we just double team this guy into the lap of the linebacker, we may not even have to get off on the play in order to bust a run. And you'll see where, even though the center gets off for the linebacker, what happens next is the down lineman that they were double teamed gets his head front side and into the hole where he basically can affect the play. And you'll see this is, I gave a left guard a minus on this play just because it really was his man and his job to secure that down lineman. And you can see here where there's a lot more consistency from our tight ends, number 83. I'm not sure his name, but the kids come in there with a fire in the last couple of weeks. I believe after the USC game, there was a good talking to of these tight ends. They've been hellacious on blocks, and I'll show you that throughout. Still some technique to work on, but the intensity has really been remarkable. So, you know, if with that tight end driving that guy, if this down lineman off that double team doesn't peek in, and you get a look at the guy there, I'll highlight him. If he doesn't peek in, if he doesn't come in on that double team, you know, look at the lane we have on, you know, what is basically a 2nd and 1 where we get the first down. to where, hey, man, this could have easily been, a touchdown or 10 or 12-yard game. So it's going to be some things you'll see. I'll point out that it kind of we still got a little more work to go. Still got a little work to go. Okay, let's see. Number 2, block corner, more upfield push. Okay, look, I've highlighted the line of scrimmage, and this is one of the things I think not only schematically but execution-wise, we really gotta ask ourselves: if we're gonna run the ball, are we moving the line of scrimmage? Do we engage at the line of scrimmage? Do we push back the line of scrimmage? For example, if someone was breaking down my door, coming to harm my family, we always had the adage that I'd want to meet them at the door, if not in the yard. I would never want to allow that person penetration cross the threshold of my household before I made the fight. Okay, so that's what the line of scrimmage here, and you'll see what I mean when I say we still need to work on the line of scrimmage. Now, for some reason, this scheme called for no one blocking the corner or the outside linebacker, which, I'm not the coordinator. I don't know exactly what their schematics are, but I do know where the pressure is. And I do see where, just where I said earlier, I've seen the intensity of the tight ends increase, but still a much-needed, baptism in keeping those pads low, getting those hands inside, really being underneath his hat here. And you can see this is this is 3 out of what is essentially 5 or 6 linemen with the tight end included. Literally half the line is making contact with Michigan State defensive linemen behind the line of scrimmage. All right, so 2 guys, we got a double team here. I believe the right guard is coming up for the linebacker, but we'll work on it. I see us getting better. Good push, nonetheless. We get the first down. Okay. This, if you look here, one thing at the point of attack, and that center has a dubious distinction of having the ball, having to snap that ball and make a play. But I may know a thing about it or two. He's got to get his head front side and anticipate and eliminate any initial penetration. And you can see here that because he doesn't take the step to get on the angle where we're already at the line of scrimmage, we got a Michigan State defender in there affecting the play that, it's a 1-yard gain. Running back is able to make the adjustment, get the first down, get some extra yardage. But this is one of the things when I'm talking to Chris Howard and, and Biaka Batuka and some of these guys about how Michigan, what we think about the run game, it's always that little extra that we're looking for in the consistency of being able to really bust some consistent runs. And, and hats off to these running backs. I think they're making incredible adjustments as they are effectively dealing with an almost all freshman line. All right, let's just call it what it is. I think 3 or 4 of the offensive linemen are freshmen. All right. Okay, number 4, let's see, quarterback hot read. This is where, I got a question of scheme here and saying, okay, there's always going to be 4 or 5 down linemen, and you're going to count your 3 linebackers and a safety, where here's 1, 2, 3, front side linebacker. You usually start your linebacker count, and I should have wrote this 1, 2, 3, but you usually start your linebacker count from the slot, guy covering the slot, to the middle. But either way, these are the same 3 guys. Now, for some reason, and you can see I've drawn where the quarterback's heels are at 5 yards. When we pause the tape, his heels are at 7, which right now he should be planting and throwing based on any type of short yardage scheme or short route system. Well, you can see here, there's no one here to block him. The running back, okay, I highlighted this area where the running back stepped up to block this guy. Well, you have a center, a guard, and a tackle to block 1 defender, 2 defender, and possibly 3, or let's say this linebacker's 3. Well, these 4 guys, these Michigan offensive line and running back included in the protection, have to do a better job recognizing and passing twist. The one Achilles heel that I've seen consistently, even though we beat Nebraska, what I've seen consistently since we beat Nebraska was an exorbitant amount of defensive tackle stunts and twists, and they do that with young guys because it takes quite a bit of experience in knowing how to be on the right levels to pass a long twist or be able to pick up different linebacker blitzes. All right, so nonetheless, quarterbacks at 10, and this is what I say about quarterbacks having happy feet, regardless of either training, either not being trained out of just keep their feet moving, or the offensive line inadvertently trains them without having a pocket. Well, this is where I think Bryce, instead of looking to back up more time, he needs to step up into this pocket to cut down what essentially, and here I'll try and draw this. If he's got an angle here, if Bryce is here, now that guy has to turn a corner. And again, there should be a running back somewhere out here, or one of these two linemen who have passed off to this running back or to that center or to that tackle to put an extra guy out here, which I don't know schemes. And we're not having this issue where basically, like I said, where the quarterback is, I did draw that, where the quarterback's being rushed for a throw in the red zone. All right, naked boot. Okay, this is a pretty good run action. This is, I would consider this to be a good deal where, hey, right now, you have a design play to get him out of pocket. And I'd like to see more designed plays to get him out of pocket as opposed to, and I thought it was good push, good run action by the offensive line to basically put him in a position to where he is able to get out of the pocket as opposed to what I consider to be poor pocket movement. Okay, Bryce has really got to step up his pocket movement, stepping up into the pocket, being able to execute plays on balance rather than, kind of playing off his back foot. All right, this is poor pass protection by the QB. O-line the O-line does a better job passing that twist off. All right, again, you got 4 rushers, 1, 2, 3, 4 linebackers, and the second coverage player is going to back up into coverage. You have a end tackle twist. Now, what you should see here is this guard recognize that twist, smash that guy right now, okay, into this right tackle. The right tackle should also recognize that this guy has a ways to go. There's a big gap between these two guys to where he doesn't have to run out of there and leave his guard on the island who may actually be looking to pass him a twist. Okay? And from that position there, you see, and I'm going to show you here where you see this guy is going to leak this coverage in here because he's too deep. The right tackle is taking the twist too deep, and the right guard is in no position to redirect for the looper coming back. And again, over here, you have the DN who took this angle here, setting up the same basic end tackle game, all right, or twist, and they don't really pick it up as well either. And you can see now, because the left guard is on such a different island. Here's the left guard, here's this guy. When he is on the island, he has to stop this guy up here and shallow block him, be able to stunt his up the field movement, because once this left guard is up this far, you can see in slow motion, if you watch the left guard, he's in no position to take that DN coming through. And that DN now has eyes on the quarterback. Luckily, the running back, I believe the center, is able to recognize this right guard is in need of help and kind of plays into him a little bit. Okay. But yeah, from that position there, you see where Bryce really has to recognize he's in no position to deliver the ball, get on the move, get rid of the ball. He can't pull it down right now. Young quarterback, young offensive line. We'll get there. Almost throws a pick, so definitely got to take care of that ball. Okay, so left tackle, center. This is a good job. I think this is where I say these guys are improving. You can see. Take a look at the center right there first. Good movement off the ball by the center. Good head snap. I'd like to see him lower. Let's look at the left tackle. All right. Good by the guard here. Let's see where else I highlighted. All right, here's the left tackle. Great job. Good drive, good hand punch. Look at the gloves inside the chest. That's what I'm talking about, man. All right, and then you got the tight end. I mean, these guys are getting much better at getting in guys' faces, getting a good two-handed grip, a gritty chest plate, and just driving these guys to where they need to go. All right, let's watch the tight end number 17. Watch this guy up here. I mean, he really does a job. Wide base. Look at the left tackle. Just keep a wide base. Keep a wide base. Stay low. Keep fighting. That looked good. That is winning by attrition right there. All right, we got to finish blocks. Still a few too many guys standing around. All right, so the screen here, it's a good redirection screen. I thought this screen was executed very well, but somebody's got to tell me what's going on with these cut blocks. Are we not cut blocking anymore? All right now, I guess when I played, and I got to do my research, when I played, where this offensive line, where this left guard is in position, man, this guy's on the ground. I'm cutting through his thigh boards, which is the whole reason they have them, even though these kids nowadays are wearing biker shorts as football uniforms. This guy's on the ground, all right? If this kid is on the ground, he doesn't redirect. And look at what's out here. Again, why are we not cut blocking? Somebody explain that to me as to why these guys are not putting these guys on the ground. Okay, again, still nonetheless, this receiver's got to plant his feet and not in just handful of chest. A lot better blocking technique. Good, stay base, run up on his feet, run on his shoelaces before you extend this much. Good eye. Let's see if we cut him. This is every guy I've ever played with. Joe Marinero, John Runyon, man. Doug Skeen, Skrepanek, Everett, all these guys. If they're this guy has no thigh pads anymore. This guy's got a broken femur. We're gonna put a helmet or a shoulder pad into his thigh board and cut the hell out of him. Hopefully you cut him so good where he does a what they call a tail whip where his heels get close to the back of his head. But nonetheless, we don't, we overextend, get off blocks, and what could have been a touchdown runs out of bounds at 12 yards. Again, I see the effort, I see the improvement, but we got to step up the consistency and execution of higher level play. Okay. All right, great open field. The quarterback. Okay, I think this is a quarterback lead. This is when they get it all done. Let's look at when they get it all right. When everybody gets it right, it looks good, man. It looks like Michigan. It is Michigan. Line of scrimmage. All right, and this is one of the things I'll emphasize later on in saying, okay, a little late. We struggled a little bit, but look at this line of scrimmage. Okay, well, nonetheless, line of scrimmage, and I got tight end and 2 offensive linemen, which is 3 offensive linemen behind the line of scrimmage. Now, the saving grace is this guy is still engaged. They're still engaged, which is an improvement in what I've seen. And luckily, he's in a position where he's got them walled off. All right, well, let's look at the open field blocking. Because football comes down to one thing on offense: block. Okay, everyone wants to talk about how great the running back is or the scheme or the quarterback. If we do not block, we do not play. Okay? The conversation came up with a friend of mine, big supporter of the program. He said, "Hey, Rod, what's going on? Does Sharon's offensive line guy, does he need to go in there and dig it out?" And say, "Well, hey, man, if quite honestly, that's the grandfather. Even though he was an offensive lineman, he was an offensive line coach. He's the grandfather now as the head coach, where the real father is Grant Newsom, okay? And that dad has to be in these offensive linemen's lives every day. They got to hear him. They got to wake up and hear Newsom, hey, stay square in your block. If they're not, they got to hear him in all things they do constantly, even on the field. They have to be able to say, man, I got to stay low. Okay, I got to stay low. Coach is going to eat me alive. Hey, I got to get my hands inside. I got to get my head front side on the defender as opposed to letting them leak through the backside. It's just a host of things that it really takes a concentration to get to an efficiently dominant level of offensive line play. And let me say this offensive line, I think they finished this game with almost 300 yards rushing, right? And I'm going to show you the second view of this, where just higher level, all right, where we're not just looking, hey, we're 5-2 right now for a reason. There's 2 losses there that I think early on was a lot of growing pains, and you still see some of the things, but you see a lot more consistency in doing it. For example, look at how high that is, all right? Still engaged, hands inside, looking good, but still too high, okay? So right now, that's a true freshman there. He's got eyes on this guy, and what he has to do is recognize that he's behind the play and get his head on the swivel and be able to cut this guy and get this guy on the ground right now before he doesn't recognize him. And right now, he doesn't recognize him, and this is almost a tackle on the goal line. So it's just those little things that I think are going to make the difference between, where this offensive line really takes it to another level. All right, let me see what we got here. I'm just going to go through a few more plays. All right, here's where the quarterback is at 5 yards deep. Let's see where he sets up. Throwing off balance at about 10 yards. All right, that's about 9 yards. So you can see, and I'm going to run through plays here, kind of wrap this up. I'm going to show you a couple other things. Just one of those things where I say it's important for quarterbacks to have good pocket discipline. All right, let's look at this. Here's a good one. All right, line of scrimmage. Everyone's engaged. Mesh with the running back quarterback is happening. All right, let's see that line of scrimmage push. Okay, we got 2 guys coming up to the second level, which I would have liked to have seen them double team their guys more. Okay, because what happened was, as these 2 guys here up for the second level on the double team, the 2 guys they left on the double team have gotten penetration and still not ahead of the line of scrimmage. Now, look at the hole there. And this is where I say where our running backs are doing a great job, but I'd like to see, I really like to see our offensive line kind of really take some of these fights to these guys. Here's a counter play. Okay, you watch the center. I've highlighted center. Misses this guy. All right, gets a little more penetration than I like to see. All right, effectively affects the play, affects the trajectory. Anytime you see a running back and he looks like he's running away from a defender, somebody didn't do a good enough job of giving that running back the solid feel of like, okay, I could run right here, no problem. Okay, again, all the arrows I've highlighted, good or bad or highlightable. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about. Could be a little lower, but man, that's good position. Man, that's good position. It's starting to get a little bit off balance. All right, let's look at this mesh right here. Let's see what happens. Ah, come on, you bounced off him. Stay lower than him. Don't let him get lower than you. Okay, but nonetheless, what I do like is that everybody's engaged, and that's a big improvement from the first half of the season, where at this position now there would still be daylight between all of these offensive guys and the guys they were assigned to block. So we've made it to that next step where guys are really, look at that. That was great by the tight end. This is what I mean when I say if you grab a guy by a chest, right, watch the tight end here, and I'm going to try and highlight it as we go here. Let's see if I can just run it slow. Watch the tight end at the top of the screen. He just continues to, he's got that guy roped up back. This is where a defender literally cannot turn away from you to even get a holding call. That is textbook 1990s drive blocks from tight end all the way to wide receivers. So, again, kind of flashes consistently better, but still flashes and not consistent greatness. Still one or two guys that I think can, okay. All right, let's fast forward to the second view. I'll let you see this play because I just don't get our scheme sometimes. I don't get who is supposed to be picking up who. All right. Like, come on, guys. Who's got him? All right. This could, $10 million quarterback, that could easily go another way. Okay. That could, he doesn't recognize his blitz early, and that, we're wondering who our backup is. Okay. So again, here, who's the culprit? Who is it? I don't know. But it's got to be worked out. It's got to be one of those things where at this point you have four guys coming, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4. And if the quarterback, the last guy responsible for this is the quarterback. Okay. And what I mean by that is this may very well be the quarterback's job. Quarterback's fault that he doesn't recognize this guy. But based on where he's looking to throw the ball, I got to say his backside should be protected on a hot read or a blitz pickup. Okay, so either he's reading, you never want your quarterback looking away from what would be a potential blitz read or a potential blitz or a hot read. He needs to recognize and have his vision towards the guy that everyone has said will block everybody except that guy quarterback. Well, that quarterback better be looking that way. So I doubt very seriously that he is looking this way and this is a hot read, which means it's these guys. All right? It's the offensive line and the running back that is responsible. And, hey, we got to do better than this. Here it is. They may have been floating, and this is one of the things. You got to have the experience of knowing, here it is. This nose guard's been running at me hard as all get out all day long, and then I set up for pass pro, and he stands there. I had better get depth, all right? I had better be able to back up to where these two guys should be somewhere back on this level here, okay, as opposed to being up here where this guy is clearly not coming. This guy is clearly taking himself out, all right? And here we just got to be able to see eyes, because we still may need to, as you see, having a quarterback that can extend the play. Not only does he miss him, but look at number 5, all right? He's the guy that actually makes the play. So if all in all, that running back has good technique on that one block, who's to say that we don't really recover that ball, or he's not the guy. At least he's not the guy that got the ball. Okay, line of scrimmage. Let's look at this. Okay, there you go. Look at that line of scrimmage. That's what I'm talking about. All right. And by now we're looking in the third quarter, and what I'm starting to see is, because we have been engaged with defenders consistently, I'm starting to see what we call winning by attrition, and that's typical of a Big Ten matchup. Come late fall into the winter months where it's not going to be a lot of razzle dazzle, but you had better have an offensive line, and the same goes for this football in general. Not just the Big Ten, but the SEC as well, where you had better be in a position where you can control the ball down the stretch of the game. Okay? All right, all right. Nonetheless, hold on. You know what? Excuse me, guys. I'm gonna go grab a quick sip of water. By the way, if you hear some rustling of 6 and 8-year-old boys in the background, that is Harrison and Major Payne, two of my boys. Major's 6U team is in the playoffs. Delray Rocks, shout out. All right, you know what? Let's wrap up a couple more plays. Let's get 1 or 2 more plays here and wrap this up. All right, here we go. Good pocket, good QB pocket work. All right. Cameron used to call this pocket work. You got to work in the pocket. All right. And what I mean when I say that is like, okay, let's look at where he's lined up. Heels at 5, perfect position. All right, good ball fake. Let's look at where his setup is. Setup is at 7 yards. All right. Offensive line is helping that pocket. Look at this, up on the line of scrimmage. See the difference between controlling a guy while I like this guy's vision here. All right. Thing I say, he's looking. All right. I like that he's got a hand here and he's looking. Okay. I like that his back is still to the quarterback. He's not open his shoulder sideways where this guy can clearly see directly. All right. This is what I mean when I say we have to do these type of things consistently, okay, to where now when you look at it, hey, there's a pocket there. And look at where the quarterback is. I drew this at 7 yards, at just about 7.5 yards. Look at the balance, okay, look at the delivery. And again, without even knowing what the play is, look at how what starts from great technique, all right, great positioning, and a pocket for a quarterback to now translate his technique, his abilities, his particular part of the game, and just look at the execution of the throw. On the money, everything works the way it should be. And that's the type of execution you want to see, coming down the stretch that's really going to give us our best chances. All right. Another good couple runs here. I'm going to skip to probably last. This is a great fourth quarter attrition run. When you see things like this, and even though, hey, I'm still seeing big backs. I'm still seeing guys on edge of him rather than down the middle. He's down the middle of his guy. He's on the edge. He's already on the edge. He's down the middle on this guy. Look at his double team and look at the position they have where they are past the line of scrimmage. That is how you double team. Okay, if you're going to put 4 hands on a guy, look at where the linebacker is. This is what I mean when I say when you double team into a linebacker, you don't really got to come off. All right, we had plenty of times where I was looking at my right guard or look at Gwines and say, hey, man, let's just get this guy into the linebacker. And we would just smash that double team into the linebacker. And, hey, who cares if this linebacker picks the wrong way? And this is when you let the running backs have incredible fun, because now instead of them redirecting in the backfield, they're into the line of scrimmage. And that was always Biaka Batuka's dream. That was all Chris Howard and all of the guys. These, again, cannot say enough about how important it is, when you look at how important it is to be fully engaged with your man, engage, stick to him, and look at what happens. Now, the one guy that the running back has to beat, he not only beats that guy, all right, but then he beats another guy. And this is why I say I think we may have two of the best running backs in college football, to have had what I have seen as a young, inexperienced line find their way through a literally a hellstorm of defenses and schemes that have just meant to take advantage of that offensive line. What these running backs have accomplished is nothing short of remarkable. They've given this offensive line some real time to develop, in plays and in situations where, an average running back might not have been in a better position, might not have done what you've seen here. All right, so look, like to see them stay low. Come on, man, get those pads down, kid. Get those pads down. Get on the edge. You got to get out there wider. All right, look. He's got you where you should have him. Decent. Best part about it, that double team. Let's turn that guy around here so his shoulders are like this, and his shoulders are like this, and this guy's like this, and we create walls. Okay? We did our thing, but there's still more to be had. All right, guys. I think we got Purdue coming up this week, so if I don't see you then, I'll see you after for another episode of Inside the O-Line Room with Rod Payne.
If you like this kind of content, please like, share, follow, and subscribe. And as always, go blue.